welcome to our new episode of Let's Talk. So before we start, I'd like if you guys don't mind introducing yourself. Julia, let's start with you.
My name is Julia Smith. I am the program director for a program called Hoop Haven, which is out of the Archdiocese of Catholic Charities, and as well as the Aliana division. I think I lost sight here a little bit. I am. And so I run a youth development basketball program with the emphasis on youth development. So what we do is we provide ongoing services for our kids and families that need it. So as stated earlier, food and pantry, tutoring. We go to court for the young men and young women that are court involved. We use basketball as a caveat. So it's more or less to help kids grow individually, socially, emotional, and by using the tool of sports.
That's amazing. What about you, Chyanne?
My name is Chyanne Butler. Graduated from college 2 years ago. I played at USC University, and after school, I got into training and a little bit of coaching. So now I have a 10-year-old team that I coach, as well as train boys and girls. I put a lot of emphasis on the mental aspect of the game for kids to understand positive thinking and understanding that their thoughts create reality. As well as training, getting their game together. But I put a lot of emphasis on just their thought process and putting a lot of more fun in the game and not making it as serious as parents try to make it for their kids at such a young age. Like, although kids can work hard, I just don't want the fun to be taken out the game. So right now I'm just coaching and training and just building.
That's awesome. And Julia, you play too, right?
Yes, I played overseas in Europe for about 7 years. So Iceland, I played in Oslo, Milan, Naples. So I've been all over the place.
How long did you play in
I
Milan?
love Milan. I love it. I played 2 years over there.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
That was by accident. It was by accident. I'm a track runner, and I didn't make the Olympics, and so my friends tried to cheer me up and told me, come on, let's go play basketball, and the city tournaments of Rucker and West Forth and all of that. And there's this guy Joel Franco, his name was, and he was at every game. He'd tell me what I should do, and I couldn't understand how he got to go every game. So I had, at the time, was an assistant coach, St. John's University. She's now, I think, Teresa Witherspoon's agent. Have him look him up, because he wanted me to go to play overseas. And I'm like, a strange man wants me to come go over outside the country. Yeah. I don't know. So I had him research, and I took off. So it was really by accident. Yeah, basketball is my favorite sport. I propelled, though, in track and field, and ended up, playing basketball after that. So I was blessed.
Wow, that's really cool.
I tell the kids all the time, it's a hustle. Like, if you gave me an outlet pass, by the time you caught it, I'd be past you already. You had to pass me the ball. So I think just because of my speed and willingness to, do the intangibles, I guess, I was asked to go overseas. So it's just, someone saw me work hard, and that's how it happened.
That's exciting, though. At least you got to really visit the world.
I did.
So Chyanne, how was it for you when you were in college? Let's start with that.
Man, it was tough. Especially coming in as a freshman, I feel like I wasn't prepared. I didn't really understand what it took to be a college player, because I was like nationally ranked and just a top point guard. So I kind of thought it was and like I was just gonna come in and get by, you know, but it took so much more hard work, and it was just a whole nother level of balancing life and what you're going through in school and basketball, like, and you're kind of on your own, you know, because you don't have your parents anymore. So coming in as a freshman, it was, I had a rough ride. I'm not even gonna lie, but it was very eye-opening for me, and I learned a lot. Once I ended up transferring to Houston, it was even more of a, you know, a culture shock, a change for me. I don't have any family out there, so I had to mature and grow, you know, pretty fast. And being a point guard, you're kind of the leader on the floor, and you're expected to, you know, do so much more, like know everybody's position, you know, just be on top of everything. So growing in that standpoint, playing is the easy part. It's just everything else that comes, you know, around it. But, you know, I got injured in college twice. I tore my meniscus, so I didn't play my freshman or senior year. I played a little bit of my sophomore year and my full junior year. So I didn't really play a lot in college, which kind of sucked. But what I've learned throughout life, you know, like life is about the experiences and what you take out of it, rather than, you know, like feeling sorry for yourself and like trying to make excuses. Is about what you take out of the experience. And, you know, I took the good with the bad, and I just tried to take the positives out of the negative, and, you know, just grow. And now I'm just here trying to give back to the youth, and because the youth is, you know, it's really big that we focus on the youth because they're our future. So, you know, if we can instill them with things that we've learned and stuff we've been through in our story, it'll only create like a change, you know, for the world, not just us, because you don't want to just do it, you know, one place. You want to do it for everybody, you know? So, yeah.
So did either of you had dreams of playing in the professionally when you were playing, or you just wanted to play?
For me, no. I mean, everybody used to say, "Oh, you should go in the WNBA," and, you know, I always felt that I really wasn't good enough because of the coaches I had. You know, I had a health teacher. You know, I had a fanatic gym teacher in high school, and so I felt like I really was missing a lot of part of the game. And I didn't really go overseas until I was 24, 25, so I had finished school already.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I was going to be a coach. But as far as like playing, I love to play. Don't get me wrong, but I never imagined myself being a professional athlete, especially in other countries. So it was a dream undreamed, I guess.
What about you, Cheyenne? When you started, did you see yourself professionally or no?
I feel like my dad saw me playing professionally, so I took that and made it what I wanted to do rather than me actually wanting to do it. I really loved basketball, but I feel like I also let outside voices and stuff kind of make my decisions for me rather than me make my own decisions. So that played a big part. I feel like I did, but once, like, you know, I was just having all my decisions made for me rather than me making it myself, it kind of ruined it. And then, of course, you know, the mental aspect of the game in college really, like, got to me. So that was tough. So it kind of, like, I was in and out of wanting to play pro. I would go in and out of it. And then once I got hurt for the last time, I actually committed to San Diego State to play again. And then I ended up telling the coach I didn't want to play anymore. So after that, that's when I stopped playing. So, yeah.
Do you think that the reason that maybe you weren't sure or you didn't know it was because it wasn't your decision from when you were younger?
I think it's because I didn't create my own identity as a child. I let it be created for me. So, yeah, that sounded good and I was good enough to do it, but was it really what I truly wanted to do? You know, like it just seemed like, you know, oh yeah, like I'll do it, but it was never like, I never really took in the present moment with basketball. I feel like I was in college kind of like floating. I feel like I was never just like, wow, like I actually did this. It was kind of just like, yeah, I'm here. Like I expected it rather than like me, like being like, wow, this is big. Like this is a huge accomplishment. So it was just, you know, I'm kind of noticing all that now.
So, and this is for both of you. So, how big, because this is identity thing is huge, not just for basketball players, obviously, for all youth sports. How much of that idea of creating your player's identity do you guys use your experience and making sure that they don't feel like I'm just a basketball player?
For me, I was raised by a white family in a predominantly, well, all white town, and so my identity was lost for a long time. You know, I didn't know who I was or anything about my was negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of negative energy because of the color of my skin or whatever people believed about African Americans in general. So when I got to 19, that's when I looked up, you know, my heritage and things of that nature and try to understand the social aspects in relation to who I was as a person. And so I didn't let that identify either. So I didn't walk around like, okay, I'm African. You know, I didn't identify as me because for so long, without the color of my skin, understanding that was an issue for a lot of people back then and now. I was just comfortable in my own skin. So I have long hair now. I had short hair then. You know, the clothes that I wore, how I carried myself. A lot of people used to get mad because I spoke proper English. Like, you know, I went through a lot of challenges. And so what I try to teach my kids, is listen, this is you. You know, so if they do something that someone deemed goofy, first and foremost, I set a tone that everybody's accepted no matter what you think is weird or not weird, right? And I always do stuff in their eye because I'm an adult, right? So, and I'm far removed from their language and their slang, and I do stuff that's just unorthodox, and I don't care. And they're like, wow, Coach doesn't. Half is because I went through it already, and people made fun of me, and I still remained myself. But so much of it is that it impedes your progress when you care about what other people say, that it molds your identity. And so, yes, parents are gonna give you your identity. Yes, I used to do this. Just at the end of the day, like, you gotta do what's gonna be good for yourself. So we just try to promote a positive energy about people being comfortable being who they are. Right? So if you wear your knee-high socks all the way up to which is coming back to your thighs, and you have some shorts on, we're playing basketball. As long as you got your sneakers and you can perform, we don't care what anybody else looks like. You know, take kids to restaurants, you know, real fancy ones. We get a grant to do that in Harlem. You know, we dress the way that you can't dress, and that's it. When we have banquets, I know kids are not, number one, understand dress code, but number two, don't have the dress code. So all I ask is don't come into any holy jeans. You know, no jeans with holes in them. They come with a t-shirt, sweatshirt, that might be their best outfit. I can't say, ew, you know, you're not dressed up. So accepting kids for where they are and educating them on all the aspects, fashion, if you want to get a point across about this is what you wear when you're going to a job interview, things of that nature that catch their attention, but you don't want to make them feel bad because they probably already feel bad at home. You know, so that's what I do to try to get my kids kind of deterred from, I got to be like this. You got to be what makes you comfortable. As long as you're not violating any laws and really hurting someone intentionally, you have to be who you are.
What about you, Chyanne?
I really agree with her. When I'm around most of my kids, I just try to create a atmosphere that's positive and not really going off, you know, what somebody else is doing rather than, you know, what you want, what you think, you know, is best for yourself and what you like other than like, you know, the real fundamentals of basketball. And, you know, when I'm teaching, you know, you don't really go against what I'm saying, but when it comes to you as a person, like if you like she said, you like a certain pair of shoes or you like this or you like your hair in a certain way, that's completely fine. Like, don't let somebody else's, you know, opinions mold your mindset, like she's saying. So I really agree with her on that.
Well, I like what the both of you are talking about, coaching and working with the whole person, not just one aspect of who they are. And I feel like a lot of coaches forget that. And a lot of parents forget that. That just because your kid can hit a three-pointer, that doesn't mean he's going to be the next Steph Curry. Maybe he will. How important it is for all of us as coaches to develop the whole person, as you guys were talking about.
Well, I would say that it's really important to develop a full like human being, but at the same time, I realize and I'm starting to understand that you can tell everybody, you know, the right information and what you feel is right, but a lot of kids have to go through these experiences themselves in order to learn, as well as you have to understand that we're not with them all the time. So, you know, whatever their parents are going through, whatever traumas they went through is kind of passed down to their kids. So they're around that more than they're around us. So we can say, you know, the right thing and push the right thing and develop them. But I feel like once they get to a certain age and place, they'll start to understand it. And kids know right from wrong, you know, it's just all about choice. It's about, as a kid, it's about you making the right choice. You have options, like everybody comes into this world and they have a choice. So it's about making the right choice. And that's what I feel that should be encouraged for kids, like making the right choice and doing the right thing.
I agree with what you said. I think that kids have to make their own decisions. You can lay out what, you know, is you think, give them the options to what they want to do. Parents put a lot of pressure on kids to perform and shoot threes, as you said, and that's, you know, they might not necessarily want to do that. And if you give these kids a bad taste in their mouth or a bad experience when you're trying to teach the sports, then you lose that child, not only to the sport, but perhaps in life and self-esteem and what they really think of themselves and what they really want to do in their life. So you have to kind of have an open mind. So Johnny doesn't want to shoot threes. What is it that you're good at? And point out the goodness. Say, listen, I need you to set that pick because you're the only one that can set that pick. No one else can do it. I need for you to do it, you know? And you got to give them the confidence to be able to use the tools that they have. But if they know when you're not being genuine, you know? An example, running up the score. I get so mad at coaches when you run up the score. I get mad. I don't care if my kids leave. I don't care if my kids lose. I don't mind, you know, but when a coach runs up the score like that, it really, 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 really bothers me because again, you're killing someone else's, it's not even your child, someone else's, you know, enjoyment. You know, someone else's enjoyment. I'm sorry about that.
I have a huge problem with running up the score. It drives me crazy. I don't understand it.
And that's the issue. Like these guys, girls that coach, and their parents, they don't understand any of the social emotional stuff and the impact that you're gonna have on kids when you do things like that and like put your expectations on that are really high and the kids just trying to learn and play for fun.
It's huge. I have fights with, well, maybe not fights, arguments, strong arguments with a lot of coaches when they tell me, oh, but you need to, that's also teaching them. If it's disrespectful to run if you are so much better and you don't run up the score, which I never understood that argument, to be honest with you. I mean, you win the game by 70 points. Really? You could not have won it by 50? What's the difference? I mean, really? Well, what do you think that, because unfortunately running up the score is just one aspect of coaches who are kind of all about themselves. And that's kind of like why we're making this movie, right? We want to bring the focus back on the kids. So how can we teach kids, sorry, not kids, how can we show other coaches that working? I mean, how can we get rid of their ego if it is all possible?
That's hard. Because I feel like an ego, you know, for males, like the ego is the most dominant thing a male can have, right? Having your
Sadly.
ego and, you know, getting. So I feel like that's just self-healing somebody's going to have to do to work on their ego, because it's going to have to take that person to want that, you know, or expand their mind and knowledge in order to understand that that's even their ego doing that. You know, maybe they don't even understand what they're doing and they think, you know, it's completely normal and completely fine because what they allow themselves to watch or what they allow themselves, you know, for them to gain whatever they're reading, whatever, you know, like maybe if they were to have access, or, you know, they have access, but maybe if they were to hear it from somebody else, or, you know, somebody close to them, or, you know, through this, what we're doing, it'll kind of like plant a seed in their head to where they're like, okay, well maybe I shouldn't do that. You know, it's all about like planting that seed, but it's kind of hard to monitor somebody else's ego.
How do you work with parents? Just period. How do you work with parents?
I mean, I've actually gotten a really good crowd of parents that trust me in what I'm doing. I haven't really came across parents that kind of do the most, thank God. So it's really just, I feel like people feel energy, and they, like Julia said, they feel when you're genuine. But people get really protective over their kids, you know, so it's really hard sometimes.
I think you have to lead by example and set some boundaries and rules with parents and the children. So you kind of have a norm, as they call it, group norm, and you have the kid and the parent sign it, and you have a parent orientation, and you explain why your rules are a certain way, what the expectations are for kids, and for for expectations for the youth and the parents. So if you set that precedent way, that should dispel most of it. And then if you're having issues with parents, you have one-on-one meeting with the parents, and you just continue and be consistent on your mission, your values, and everything that you stated on the paper, your intentions, and you're just consistent. If you're consistent, parents are going to fall into line. If not, you might lose a parent and a child. Pray for the child, because it's really the child's fault. And you keep moving. Most parents there's been a lot. Like, I have a lot of, when I was working with the younger kids, girls, a lot of guys want to coach their teams, you know, and want to yell at the ref and want to get mad because my daughter's not getting the ball. And you just keep being consistent and intentional and explaining that, you know, this is a team sport, you know, and this is how we conduct ourselves. And, you know, you might not always get the ball. There's other things that you can do. And then when you explain the sport to the parent, explain the sport. So sometimes they just see the basketball and pass and catch and score, and they don't really know the ins and outs of the sport and what it takes. Your daughter says, oh, you know, I'll use a pick. Your daughter says a wonderful pick, so that not only can the point get open, she can roll to the basket and get an easy two or a pop out, or, you know, and they'll start to see it in a different light. And there's some people you just can't reach, and you just gotta just keep going and kind of put it out one, you know, ear and let it go out the other, as long as they're not disrespecting the program and at the game showing out. And again, you have mechanisms to fight that or remove the parent to games until they can act, you know, in the right way that's safe for all kids and other parents to be a part of.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier, Julia, was that one of the things that you guys do is you give your kids tools to grow. Is that basically life skills, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, there's a couple of components of our program, right? So we have what we call a drop-in model, which is on the weekends where anybody can come that's registered with the program and participate in the clinics. Then what we have is the core 30, where we have basically 2 teams, and then some kids that are not on the team. And these are a mixture of kids that can play and can play in different levels of skill levels, right? And that 30 core followed and paid close attention to. So, you know, family issues, if they're court involved, if they're lacking some type of food, you know, especially now. So with the kids, we also have, we call team meetings, and we have life skills for the kids. So it could be anywhere in range of budgeting to handling conflict, which is a lot, to self-identity, and which we just talked about. There is a section in the curriculum that I help write about self-identity, what community means to you. And then we expose them to different community events. I took them to a Nets game, and you would have just thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. My colleague came, he's the one we purchased the tickets from, and I had, I don't know, we had, how many, Wesley? We had like 15, 20 kids, and all of them were grateful. They were just in awe. And then when we see the game and we see like a conflict on the court, right? And we talk about it, how better can that have been handled? What are you know, what steps can you take? And so that's the model we use with our kids. All right, you had an argument with the coach. Why did you argue that way? You know, kind of the therapy thing. How did it make you feel? Is that what triggered it? What do you think you could do better to respond to that particular issue? You know, because sometimes I tell the kids we're not perfect, so we might have said something that hurt your feelings and that triggered you to do something, and you know, so we're not perfect. So, and it's about communication, right? I can't give you a look and think you're gonna go back door and you don't know, and I throw the ball out of bounds. Both of you are gonna be mad at each other because there was no communication. So we actually sometimes divide the sessions into those aspects of communication, the pick and roll, the outlet pass. And then we'll talk about it in group about communication, and we'll put that on the court, but then we'll put it out to teachers, parents, your peers. You know, how do you communicate with them? So we translate everything on and off the court, so they're both interchangeable at any given time. So if a child is how can I put it? A child is just not passing the ball at all. Not passing the ball, just think he's better, and right. So we'll address that, but then we'll address with a child individually what's going on with them, right? They might not be a only child, and they get, you know, they have to give their brothers and sisters everything, never keep anything to themselves. And the only thing that they have to themselves is that sport. And when I have the ball, I'm just me and I'm zoning out, right? There's a reason for that, right? And then trying to tell the child that you have other assets, right? So, you know, so there's always reasons why kids do things like that, and you have to kind of just delve into it. So we use those life skills to really kind of get kids thinking on and off the court and how they both coincide with each other as far as life and then growing.
That was great.
Thank you. But it works. It really works. I mean, we've taken some of the kids that had the most challenging behavior, and you would see a metamorphosis. One of my, he's just, I don't want to say bad, but he just does stuff. He'll come and slap somebody upside the head, curse, carry on, all that stuff. But want to be a part of that unit. It took him 3 years to get where he's at. But I've gotten a mother to come in. You can't come back to the program until I speak to your mom, because we have a lot of kids that we don't have contact with their parents, except now because they're home and we're calling them for wellness checks. So we'll start with that. And then you'll just see a behavioral change. And we have a youth advocate for that. So obviously, if you're just a coach, you can do some of that, but you can't do all of it, right? Because you got to coach your team. My program is unique in where we have team games, clinics, but then we have an advocate to address the issues that the kids and the family are having. So
that's
I mean,
huge.
actually, that's a very unique part of the program that I love the best, because the sport is a carrot, but we're actually really help.
How important is you think to have, because I think that the advocate part is amazing. What a great part of your program. And I think that is one of the things that lack the most in a lot of other programs or in a lot of other teams, clubs, whatever, out there, is that with too many coaches or club directors or whatever don't have that interest. It's only a, win game, I like your kid, lose games, and your kid is gone. When there's so much more, especially at the younger ages, that obviously only exponentially grows as they get older. If they have problems at 10 years old and you don't address them, and doesn't have to be anything monumental, but it might become really big at 15 or 16.
That's true. I'm not sure how each club has its own, I guess, expertise and their own staff that can handle certain things, right? I would recommend, I think that the junior NBA is doing a lot on kind of the mental stability and the mental and social, emotional aspects. They're trying to start that as far as dealing with the youth. I think, again, it's about intention, and it's about consistency, and it's about, again, parent involvement. Because if your parents are involved and see what you're doing, then they're co-signing the culture, right? So now you have parents on board with the culture, you have your staff on board with the culture, and the kids just kind of fold right in. Yes, grabbing the kids before something monumental happens, like court involvement, is very important. I think with the teams that don't really have all of that, they should go to these trainings and kind of know the signs when the kids, that's part of the USA basketball training now, is to see when something's wrong with a kid, to see when they're kind of distant or they're acting out. That's a part of getting your license now, USA basketball license, that you have to go through that training that kind of teaches you, hey, something's going on with Johnny. Whether it's something, he's being bullied within your group, at home, at school, something, abusive stuff is going on at the home. Like, I've seen it all in the work that I've done, so just knowing those warning signs and just knowing how to deal with challenging behaviors. And there's a lot of resources for free, webinars that coaches can go to. So for me, if I were to start a club on my own, I would make sure that these coaches are trained in some aspect of this. And again, it's the mission statement, it's the intention, it's the culture that you already want to have in place before you invite all of that in. And that goes with all of those trainings and things that you can do to help create a good culture and a safe culture for your youth to be able to play whatever sport they're playing.
To expand on that, Chyanne, was there something when you were growing up, when you were maybe not in the right frame of mind, or you had a bad day, that you could find refuge to away from basketball, something that helped you round yourself up in a way that gave you peace, not just playing basketball?
When I was younger, my life was just basketball. But the older I got, I started writing poetry. That helped me a lot. Listening to music really helped me a lot. It would really just set me apart from the world, I felt like. I love to sit by the water for some reason. And I was just learning these things about myself that would just bring me peace. So I would have to do little things like that. But in Houston, they didn't really have a beach. So
that's a problem.
Yeah, just kind of like maybe going. I always had to be outside. I'm an outdoor person, so and I would have to take time to myself. I've noticed I couldn't be around everybody all the time. I had to be by myself, like go eat by myself, or just take time to just indulge in myself and understand why I'm feeling a certain way and where is it really stemming from. So those type of things.
Do you still listen to music or play music or write poetry?
Yeah, I write poetry. I write music. I'm teaching myself how to play the piano. I produce music. So yeah, that's grown on me. But that came from my childhood. I wanted to do music when I was a kid. I wanted to do singing classes. I wanted to play the guitar. But since my father saw how good I was at sports, he kind of made it my life. But I remember at a young age, being like, I want to be on Disney Channel. When you're a kid, these little things you want to do. But I could never really venture out and do those things because, it was kind of like my dad was vicariously living through me when I was playing basketball. And he pushed me so much to, no, you have to be the best. You have to do this. You have to do that. When if I was a kid, I could have done, a guitar class too. Or, I could have done both. Like, it's not against the law, so.
Are you sure?
Right. So now looking back, these are the things that I'm genuinely passionate about. And I've learned that now, basketball is always going to be a part of me. And I really enjoy more. I feel like more of my purpose is to tell my story and help kids now that might be going through the same thing that I went through. Maybe my voice could help, a parent that hears it from me. I don't know. But, I think it's important for everybody to tell their story at some point.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, so how do you work with your own parents when they are the ones pushing you for something that you don't want to do? Or at least not at that level?
Now, I came to an understanding that my parents are as weird as it sounds, parents are still growing as people. And my mom had me when she was 21. I'm 23. So I couldn't imagine having a kid when I'm still trying to understand who I am and what I'm doing. So once I really understood that, and my dad was young as well, I understood that, they did what they felt was right. They did what they thought was the best for me. And now that I've, just kind of tried to, like I said, get more knowledge about what's really going on. I understand that they're still growing and there's some things that they didn't heal within themselves, and they went through things with their family that, was passed down to me, and it was kind of up to me to break it and see what was really going on. So I see my parents as just my parents, obviously, but people as well that still learning and still growing and still, trying to figure things out. And I don't judge them. And I love them for them now, but I'm doing my own thing. And I see life from a different view. Sometimes we don't see the same. And I've understood that that's okay. And, the more I've grown and the more I've started reading, I've noticed my parents have benefited off it as well. So I feel like it's just a group thing, it's about, it's more, it's just bigger than us. So.
Is it, excuse me, do you think it's hard for most athletes in general, not just basketball players, to talk to their parents?
Yeah. Well, it depends. I thought it was normal, for the way my dad reacted towards me sometimes, because he would get really mad when I played bad, or I was more nervous for him to watch me play than to actually play the game. So it was, that type of thing. But then when I started asking, my teammates, hey, if they had a bad game, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, why wouldn't I be okay? And I'm like, well, your dad's not mad at you? And they're like, no. And I was like, what? I get in so much trouble if I played bad. So it's that was kind of eye-opening to me that, okay, this might not be normal. So
Maybe.
Yeah, noticing that was really a big eye-opener for me.
For me, it's just the opposite. My parents didn't support. They didn't come to hardly any games. You know, I lived in a rough household. So I lived in a household where my parents adopted me, but didn't necessarily like Black people or like them around, you know. And so I was in a real, you know, emotionally and not so much physically, but abusive situation. And so sports really saved my life. So I played all 4 sports till I'd be out of the house. I was in a marching band. Played the flute. I was in jazz band. I played soccer until it almost ruined my career. But you know, I didn't have that support. Yeah, I didn't have that support at all. And so, but for some reason, sports helped me through my life, and I'm able to give back now. You know, it helped me with my self-esteem. It helped me with staying committed to things. And if I didn't like it, I played soccer 1 year, but I had to finish. I didn't quit in the middle of the season. I continued to play for that year. And so I didn't have all of those pressures on being the only pressure I had maybe being on myself, right? Basketball, they didn't pass me the ball because I was Black, and that's why I excelled. I went and got the ball. I stole the ball. I had rebounds, putbacks, stuff like that, right? So that's the only way I was going to get the ball, so I had to work for it, right? And so the same thing with anything else and not to say that ain't no one else has worked for it, but I just didn't have that support or that push that I could be anything and anything that I wanted to be. Professional basketball player, professional track runner, whatever it is that I want to do. I didn't really have that support. And for my kids, a lot of the kids don't have that support either, right? And so just supporting what they love to do. And we've been finding out one of the kids is probably going to get a record deal. He can sing. Would never know. He just started singing one day, you know, and we're like, wow. And so, you know, it goes again, if kids don't have support at home, you want to create that environment so they have support. But I come from a place where my parents didn't even think I was going to graduate high school, let alone, you know, be an athlete. And so I had to deal with that.
Wow.
Well, that could not have been easy, I'm sure. I have to ask you a question.
I don't
know. Okay, hard question for you. One of the things that really upsets me as a coach, but also as a parent, also as a person, I coach soccer, as you, I don't know if you both remember, but that's what I do, right? Besides making movies. And I remember last year, I keep hearing about this one lady coach and everybody hates her. And they keep saying how horrible she is, whatever. That she's so mean, you know, all of those things. I met this lady one time by pure accident. And she's like the nicest lady ever. And one of the things that I start to realize, unfortunately, very sadly, is that because she was a woman, well, she's not dead, because she is a woman, she couldn't be loud or she couldn't be tough. She had to be nice, whatever stupid crap thing they were putting on her, right? Well, of course, when a man yells, screams, cusses at your kids, makes your kids cry for a month, that's considered great coaching, right? So how did you have to do, and also my favorite one is obviously because she was a woman, she didn't know the game, right? Because obviously we all know that only men understand sports. So how do you ladies, or have you had to deal with something like that?
I haven't yet.
Uh,
That's good. I'm glad. That's a good thing.
I haven't at all, actually. Yeah, I haven't. So yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. I love to hear that.
That's awesome. I go through that now, but only because the culture of the kids that I deal with, they kind of look down on African American women, period. Just on women, period. That, you know, and so I used to get mad because I feel like I always had to carry my professional resume, and then, you know, then they want to play one-on-one. Matter of fact, this kid was talking smoked so much, he was just talking. I said, okay, game is 2-1. I got the ball first because I'm older, right? I got the ball first.
I like that
Took the
because I'm older.
ball. I took the ball, a little jab step forward. He went forward. I came back. He came back. I wrapped the ball around his head. Went to go for a layup. He started to block it, a jump stop, and shot it. Now, I did all of this because we had just went over it in practice, but he was talking so. He got so mad. He cursed me out, and I had to ban him from the program for like 2 weeks for being disrespectful. But it was to show him that girls can play basketball. Like, it's like, yes, I've worked all my life. I know the sport. Marion Freeman, who I give real kudos to, she used to coach with Vivian Stringer in Iowa, won a NCAA championship, coached Syracuse University for a long time, is the one that got me into coaching. I didn't want to coach because kids don't listen. I was like, no, kids don't. You know, but at 19 here, I am coaching Division I camps and doing the thing. But yes, I get it. I still get it. I get it from just being here at work, you know, with working with other people. I think it's a culture. I think it's, you know, depending on where you are, where the culture is. Upstate, everybody passing the ball. I come downstate to New York City, and I can't get nobody passing me the ball. Like, I don't understand. Like, I play with the guys all the time where I'm from, but so it's a matter of culture. And again, I always stick to you, be consistent, be intentional. All you can do is, you know, now kids see me like, oh my God, you know this person, you know that person, and they'll tell you how they knew me. It wasn't necessarily on the court, you know. So if somebody comes that's either famous or not famous, or will say, listen, Julia's done A, B, C, and D. This is the person you want to listen to, yada, yada, yada. But I'll always have had, to this day, that push and pull about, you know, women not knowing the sport. You see the junior NBA now, they have this big initiative, Her in the Game. You know, it's we need more women coaches. We don't have women coaches because there's still a stereotype about women, right? Or, you know, it goes back, you know, people even, you know, question your sexuality if you're, you know, too strong on the court. Or so, you know, for me, I can say that, yes, I had to prove everything, anything, you know. Just today, my boss gave me kudos on a lot of stuff that he hasn't said in a long time, you know. So I do know what I'm talking about. I can navigate whatever we need to do in order to sustain the program, but I think it's the culture. And so again, I just keep plugging away. I'm consistent. You know, it does bother me, but it's not my fault. It might not be their fault. It might be, again, a culture in which they were been around, you know, because that's a culture where women are supposed to be seen and not heard, so to speak. But if you look at the arenas now for women's basketball, they're bigger. A lot more people are attending. There's a lot more respect given to women in sports. So I think we're coming out of it. But if you're at a small program or you're in a situation where that's people are not exposed to that, you're gonna go through that.
How is it? It's kind of like a following. The second part of this question would be when I've seen on the soccer field, which is despicable, a lot of girls are not allowed to, and I mean that they're not allowed to be creative, to just go and, you know, the boys are go one-on-one, make some fancy move, you know, and go and play. The girls, I mean, I've seen parents, not just coaches, parents telling girls, you can't do that. Does that happen on a basketball court or something like that? Is there a huge difference in how we treat boys basketball players and girls basketball players?
Like for a team or just in general?
In general. I mean, like I was saying, the example, you know, like I said, oh, you're like, yeah. Well, so what is that? What is that difference and what can we do about it? Because I hate it when it's girls soccer because it's what I see and it makes me cringe. So how does it work for
I
you
have
guys?
a question. Is that the parents, the referee, or the coaches, or or?
In general, whichever one is more prevalent. I mean, in soccer, it's usually the coaches and the parents that they tell the girls you can't be creative. Like you have to just take the ball, pass the ball, that's it. You can't just go one-on-one, or you can't be a fancy move, or you can be, no, I'm not gonna do what the coach said, I'm gonna do what I want. While the boys, I always find that they're encouraged to be creative, or to go one-on-one, to be Kobe Bryant, you know what I mean? Or to be Michael Jordan. Do you see that difference? Basketball?
I don't see it a lot. I don't see it a lot, but I think, again, you know, when you set your culture and you tell parents, you know, we support and encourage creativity within the means of the program, right? We want our kids to be creative and be able to express themselves, because it's a part of growing, right? Not only in the sport, but again with identity and expressing who they are in a healthy setting and in a healthy way. I think, again, it always goes back to the culture that you set. Again, if I've seen it, or if I do see it, obviously those are the things that I would be saying to the parents, and to the child, to allow them to be able to express themselves. It's not going against the grain. They're not doing all types of crazy stuff. And like you said, everybody thinks that not everybody, but a lot of coaches, or a lot of parents think that a kid is that at that next level, and that's not gonna be good if a scout sees you, and you know, again, you just take it back to the statement, and the statements that you know that you set, and the ground rules that you set as far as what your program is about. And if you want your kids to be creative, you express that from the back to the parent. And if it's not, and if you jump in the program that's not that well received, then you gradually kind of work towards that. And again, you know, and live in.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, last thing, because I know you guys have to go, and I can go on and talk to you ladies for another hour easily, so I don't want to take too much of your time. One of the things that that it seems like it's a very problem in the youth sports is access, or at least what people think they have access. Oh, I don't know what that was.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It was a
No, you're
Spain
good.
driving by. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So let me ask that again. I was just saying that one of the things that I've noticed a lot of people don't realize is they have a lot more access than they think they do. Like I've spoken to parents before telling me, "Oh, we can do that? I didn't know we could." And they tell me that just because they are Latino parents who think that only white people can have access to stuff. And obviously cost is huge in youth sports, right? And I'm sure that in basketball, it can be pretty penny too. Julia, you work in an organization that is one of the main things is to create access to kids. What could we do in general to make sure that people realize that what the things are out there for them?
Create a resource guide with local, with local sports information, like youth sports, right? This foundation or what, whatever sports club there is. Address. If you have if you can get a hold of like some kind of cohort with or you're at a school, you know, there's a school in your area, and provide those resources to the schools and other and using as part of your resource that you're going to inform, you know, the parents about. But I think if you provide or have an online resource page or website that lists all those resources in the particular area on the website, right? And even if you're coaching and you're doing one-on-ones with private, or even if you have your own organization, you know, you want to partner up or you want to kind of reach out to those other organizations to see what the nuances is, you know, see if you can play against their teams, see you can do something collaborative. So I know everybody wants to, sometimes these clubs want to keep all their players to themselves and don't want let anybody in, but at the end of the day, it's youth sports. And so, you know, you kind of want to come together. You can come together for a tournament. You can get grants if you have a whole lot of people on your resource list that you're working with. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. But as far as the resources out there, research the resources, call certain people, go to the website, see what you think is going to be, you know, applicable and good culture for youth. Create a website, put it on there. If you have a Facebook page, put all those resources on your Facebook page. Have people follow you.
That's awesome. Thank you. So Chyanne and Julia, where can people find you? If they want to reach out to you, how can they
looking for us? Like,
yes, if the police is coming for you, no, I'm talking about the FBI, the CIA, everybody's coming for you. No, how can people reach out to you if they want to ask more questions? They want to, whatever it is, ask more questions.
A lot of people reach out to me. Yeah, a lot of people reach out to me through email, or they DM me, or they Facebook me. I don't have a website or anything yet, so they just kind of go through those.
What's your social media handle or user or whatever it's called these days?
So my Instagram for basketball is called Highest Handles. It's HIYAS and then handles. And my email is my name, so ChyanneButler1@gmail.com.
Thank you. What about you, Julia? How can people reach your program?
For me, people reach me everywhere. You can go to kind of charities / Alianza, Hoop Haven. My information is there. Or if you want to reach me, you can DM me on Instagram, Julia Smith 3233. That is my Instagram, so you can hit me up on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. I can't wait to come to see you both when we can finally film. And hopefully we can all get out a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully this Corona thing has to end at some point, right?
Definitely.
Yes. Hopefully.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Take some time, Julia, and Chyanne, thank you.
Thank you.